Hey, and welcome to another Frontend Engineering Explained. Today we're looking at a little bit of TypeScript, and specifically access property checking. So this applies to object literals, but there's a little nuance in how this works that I want to call out in this one. So we have a type bird here, and it has a property named name of type string, and then two optional properties is predator and color, one being Boolean, one being string. Then we have some objects down here, we have a function, and then we're just going to call that function and print its result to the console. First things first, TypeScript is unhappy with us here, and the reason for that has nothing to do with access property checking. It's just saying that bird has the implicit type any. It's okay, but if you actually mean for it to be any, then be explicit about it and say that it's any. In this case, actually, we don't want it to be any, we want it to be bird, because if you look at what we're doing inside, we're using those properties, right? We're doing some conditional logic here. Technically, we should be doing it here as well, but hey-yo, let's continue on because that's not the main focus of this video. Okay, now, first things first. We have bird here, and we have an object literal, but right now it's not typed, so we're not getting any type checking. So let's take bird and pass it into our function. If you're wondering about the error here, it's because we're not passing anything, and the function actually expects one argument, which we're going to give it now. Bird. It's happy. But something is a little odd though. If you look there, color isn't color. Why is TypeScript letting this one slip? Because we clearly said we're expecting an argument of type bird, and this doesn't pass the muster, right? And that is because of the way we're using it here, assigning the object literal to an untyped variable and then passing a variable as the argument into print bird. We're first of all getting no type checking, and then down here we're also getting that access property check, more specifically, because of how we're using it. What I mean by how we're using it is if we copy the object literal and we paste that in here, now TypeScript is going to tell us. It's going to say, hey, the object literal may only specify known properties, but color, OUR, does not exist on type bird. Did you mean to write color? As you can see there. Why is this happening? It's happening because object literals get special treatment and undergo access property checking when assigning them to other variables or passing them as arguments. So access property checks only happens when you're assigning an object literal to a variable, but of course the variable needs to be typed or otherwise you're not getting type checking, or when you pass the object literal directly into a function call. If you assign it to a variable that's untyped and you take that variable and pass it into a function, no access property checks. So if we typed bird up here as of type bird, we would get it again, the same that we saw down here. And in actual fact, if you look at the docs a little further down, because it talks here about some ways that you can get around, it's, first of all, the docs doesn't recommend that you get around it, because you shouldn't get around type errors unless you have a very good reason for it, which we'll speak about in a second. But one of the ways you can get around it is exactly this. It's by assigning it to a variable and then using the variable as the argument to the function. But there's a little catch here as well, which is also mentioned here in the docs. It only works, so bird down here, it only works if there's enough overlap. So let's look at it here. So it says, the above workaround will work as long as you have common properties between square options and square config. So here we have color and width. So while color doesn't match, width does match. So we have an overlap. Down here, it's still failing. And the reason is we have color, which is not there because we've misspelled it. There's no other properties. So there is literally nothing in common between these two. So there's definitely a bug here. So in this case, the same as in our case here. There's enough overlap between this and this that TypeScript saying, check this out. But if you're assigning it to the variable and you get down here, it's like, maybe it's okay. So that is something to be aware of. Now down here we have another object. And if we type this one, also as type bird, we're going to get the error. Again, same story. If we pass predator in here, everything's fine. If we take the actual object literal, we pass that in, we get our access property check that fails. But what if this predator object is of type bird, but sometimes bird types should be able to accept additional properties? We don't know what those are exactly. There could be one, there could be none, there could be many. We're also not sure what the types might be of those. Well, in those cases, you can be explicit that this is something you expect, and then you can use it. You can add a string index here. So what that does is you use your square brackets, and then you say key of type string, and then the value will be of type, oops, that's not right, of type unknown. So we're just saying there could be one or more or none, actually 0 or more, additional properties on this type of type unknown. So string, boolean, array, all the things. Now, of course, it goes away because this is now totally fine and everything is happy. You can even take this object literal, pass it into the function, and everything is still fine. So I think this is an important nuance to be aware of, because this could trip you up, that where everything looks fine, but then when you run the function, you get this unexpected output and you're like, what's happening here? This nuance might have just caught you. So don't try and get around your type errors unless you know for a fact that you know what you're doing. Like, for example, adding those string indexes because you know explicitly want to allow additional properties on this type. One last question. Let me know in the comments why color is now no longer an error. Until the next one, if you like this, give it a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts and also the answer to this question in the comments. And if you like this kind of stuff and you'd like to see more, I cover everything from HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and TypeScript. Hit subscribe and know when the next video is up. Till the next one, keep rocking the free web, and peace.